Hey everybody, this is Jason Creel and this is the Lawn Care Life. Today I'm going to show you some grasses and grassy weeds, and I'm going to show you the seed head on these so we can help you identify them. Then I'm going to go a step further and I want to talk to you about if you've got a particular grass in another type of grass, is there something you can do to get rid of that grass out of the other grass? So for instance, let's say you got St. Augustine grass mixed in with your Bermuda and you want to get rid of the St. Augustine. What could you put on it, or one of these grassy weeds? So some of those there's going to be some solutions to, some of them there's not. But let's talk about that in this video. Today's video is sponsored by my friends at Yardbook. If you're in the lawn care business and want a software, go to yardbook.com. So this is my Bermuda lawn. You can see the hybrid Bermuda is slower to put out a seed head. So this is hybrid. I don't see many seed heads on it. If you get over here to the common Bermuda, it's already starting to put out a seed head, and it's only been a few days since it was mowed. But if we get over here on the edges where I hadn't done a lot of weed eating, just to be honest with you, on this part, you can see where this is the seed head of the hybrid Bermuda. The common Bermuda is going to look very similar to this, I would imagine. Very thin. Here's another example. This is not necessarily going to have 3 little branches off of, because this one has 4. This one has 4 as well. You can see that. 4 right there. So sometimes 3, sometimes 4, maybe different numbers. Actually, there's some that have 5. So you can see, anyway, but they all seem to be at the top. No real branches along the path of the stalk. It's just at the top you have these little branches that come off on the seed head. Now here's one that typically is fairly easy to identify. Nice thick stalk, and it has just a classic Y at the top. And this is bahiagrass. Oftentimes the bahia will have like a pinkish purplish tint toward the base of the plant too. Let's see if I can show you that. If I can pull some up. There you go. You can see the color there, kind of a purplish tint. So this is your bahiagrass. We can talk about how to get rid of that shortly. Unfortunately on my Zoysia grass, this is some Zoysia that's gotten kind of long, and there's still no visible seed head, which actually is a good thing. That's a feature you want in your grass, is not to put out a seed head soon, but unfortunately I'm not going to be able to show you a seed head of Zoysia in this video. Now this is a sedge, not really a grass or a grassy weed, but on your kalingas sometimes they have, I call them like spiky balls, but you see what that looks like. I'm going to get my camera to focus. All these little spiky balls on there, and a yellow nut sedge is going to be similar as well. Now it seems like the kalinga puts those out much sooner than your yellow nut sedge, but it's going to have a similar look to it once it gets to a mature state. Now look at this. This is some crabgrass, and look at the big tall seed head coming off of that crabgrass. You see that? Here's another stalk. And there may be a little bit of variation depending on different types of crabgrass. So this is one also found. It might look slightly different. But that should give you some idea what you're looking for your crabgrass seed heads. Now what about this one? See this grass? It has a very pink center to it. And this is going to be foxtail. And I found a more mature foxtail to show you the actual seed head. You see what that looks like, big old, and it'll get even fuzzier and gives it the name of foxtail. Big, bushy, fuzzy looking seed head on this foxtail. Now there's other kinds of foxtail, but this is the one that I'm most familiar with. It has a real pink center toward the plant there, and this is the seed head for that. Now if you've got some compacted soil, you may be dealing with goose grass. This is goose grass here. You can see this one's starting to put out a seed head. I found one with actually a more mature seed head that I can show you. That is a big, tall seed head for goose grass. You can see the plant. Tough one to get rid of, but I can give you some suggestions on that as well. This often gets confused with Centipede or maybe even St. Augustine. This is actually carpetgrass. And it's easy to tell when you have the seed head, because you see this seed head, it has a Y kind of like bahiagrass, though not nearly as thick. But underneath the Y is one kicker coming off to one side only. So it's Y with a kicker below the Y. And that is the carpetgrass. Because like I said, it has a look similar to Centipede, similar to St. Augustine, but not nearly as uniform, doesn't make as good a turf grass. Had somebody the other day comment that they've got carpet grass and they think it looks great. Well, that's great. I don't think it looks that great, but that's what the Seedhead looks like if you're trying to identify that in your lawn. This is a clump of dallisgrass growing in the middle of Zoysia, and you see the Seedhead here. Typically the seeds are going to come perpendicular off of the stem. There's another example of the dallisgrass. You can see this big clumpy weed in your yard. It's got this tall giant Seedhead. This looks horrible. That's dallisgrass. Oftentimes people get dallisgrass confused with crabgrass, or they just call everything crabgrass, but it's actually very hard to confuse the Seedheads. They don't look anything alike. Another example of the bahiagrass. Another example of the dallisgrass. Now this is Centipede, and hopefully you can see a little difference between that and the carpetgrass. Much more uniform. If it was mowed regularly, it would look really good. But you can see the Seedhead is just a single, don't get confused, there's just one single Seedhead popping up. And I don't be able to show you St. Augustine grass Seedhead today, but I think it is fairly similar to this. But they're late to put Seedheads up in the Zoysia and St. Augustine. It's not very common that I even see a Seedhead. Zoysia maybe earlier in the year, but I'm in the summer and I'm not seeing many Seedheads at this time for the Zoysia. Again, you can see the Centipede right here, just one single little skinny stalk. I found a mother load of Bermuda grass seed heads. So look at it, it's all going to seed here in an area that hasn't been mowed as often. As you can see, just seed heads galore. So you can see the St. Augustine grass here has a wider blade, wider than the carpetgrass, and wider than the Centipede definitely, but very slow to go to seed. So unfortunately I don't have any seed heads to show you for the St. Augustine grass, but this is it. And you can see it, oftentimes it will run and spread, as you can see it's trying to do here. All right, so hopefully you've learned your grass types and been able to identify them if you're having trouble. You know, like so you might get confused on the carpetgrass and the St. Augustine or Centipede, things like that. But if you know what kind of grass you got, you may find that you've got some grassy weeds in there, or you maybe have two grasses mixed together and you want to get rid of one and keep the other. So let me see if I can give you a little bit of advice on that. Let's just say that you got bahiagrass, okay, mixed in. You see this huge stalk here, nasty looking. It's very hard to mow. It's a thick stalk. Bahiagrass can be suppressed with just a 1/4 ounce per acre of metsulfuron. So that's going to come under the label name Manor or MSM Turf. I can put a link in the description of some of these products. But if you just use that as a 1/4 ounce per acre, now that's very hard to mix up in a little 2-gallon sprayer, okay? So you have to oftentimes mix it in a larger quantity, because using too much of it is not good. You can actually damage trees and things like that. So a 1/4 ounce per acre will suppress it, also kill a lot of weeds in your yard. And you can use that on different grass types, on your warm season grasses and even some cool season grasses, I believe. You want to check the label and make sure. Of course, wear your PPE and follow the label no matter what you're doing. But the bahiagrass can at best case be suppressed, and you might can use a higher rate and actually start to kill it off or multiple applications. Now let's say you got a big patch of carpet grass in your yard and you're trying to get rid of it. You can see it's got the Y with the kicker. Then Celsius is a great product for that. And Celsius can be used on your warm season grasses. So if you've got this mixed up with your Centipede or St. Augustine or Bermuda, you spray it with Celsius and you can knock it out. I can put a link popping up on your screen now to a video where I did just that, getting rid of carpet grass in a Bermuda grass lawn. Now if you've got Kalinga popping in your yard, again that's a sedge. You want to use a sedge product, something like Certainty, Solero. You can use a Dismiss product like Dismiss NXT or Blindside or just regular Dismiss, and those will do a good job on helping you to suppress at least and maybe kill off some of your Kalinga. If you've got nut sedge instead of Kalinga, then you may want to go with something like Pro Sedge or Certainty, or some of these same products can also be effective on nut sedge as well. If you've got goose grass in your lawn, Dismiss NXT is a good product for that. Solitaire, those are both good post-emergent products to knock out goose grass. If you're dealing with crabgrass in the lawn, then you want to put out your pre-emergent before it germinates. So here in Alabama, we typically going to spray a pre-emergent in January or February. ahead of the March germination, which is typically when it germinates in my area. And that will most of the time prevent your crabgrass problem. It's not going to do anything for dallisgrass. Dallisgrass is a perennial, crabgrass is an annual. So you're pre-emergent, get it down. We use a product called prodiamine, and that's going to very much reduce your crabgrass population. If you want to get rid of it from a post-emergent standpoint, then solitaire or some other product that has quinclorac in it is probably about as good as you're going to do for getting rid of crabgrass as a post-emergent, but definitely much easier and cheaper to do it from a pre-emergent standpoint. If you got some nasty dallisgrass in your yard, very difficult to get rid of. I use Celsius and Certainty combined for a lot of weeds. That will have some effectiveness on it. You have to use multiple applications. There's other products like Tribute Total. It's easiest to control in the fall. The illegal way to control it in a Bermuda grass lawn is with a product called MSMA. It'll take multiple applications, but it's not legal on residential properties. The other thing on a Bermuda grass lawn is if you let your grass go dormant, then you can spray the dallisgrass with glyphosate in the wintertime. I do that at 32 ounces per acre. That again is still difficult. Sometimes it may take a combination of these strategies to get rid of it. You also use a shovel. It's hard to get rid of, but those are some options to kill dallisgrass in your lawn. I would not recommend doing the glyphosate except on a Bermuda grass that is dormant. You could damage some of your other grass types. Now let's say that you've got two grasses mixed together. Let's say you got Centipede or St. Augustine blended in with your Bermuda grass. Well, you could do a couple of things. One, you could try what I just said for the dallisgrass. You could wait till it goes dormant. Maybe you get 2 or 3 warm days in a row in December, January, February, I'm not sure. And if the St. Augustine and Centipede have a little green to them, but the Bermuda is mostly dormant, then you could spray it at the 32 ounces per acre of glyphosate, and hopefully it would knock out the Centipede or St. Augustine. Now, that's easier said than done. A lot of times it just damages it, but if you don't kill it completely, it's going to bounce back. There's also quite a few products that are labeled for Bermuda grass but not labeled for Centipede and St. Augustine. So in that situation, if you got a patch of Centipede in a Bermuda lawn, you consider the Centipede a weed, an unwanted grass. By definition, a weed's an unwanted plant. So it's unwanted, it's a weed. Now you could use something, again, the illegal MSMA would probably knock it out, but that's not legal on residential properties. But what I do, I'll use like spray and tripler 2,4-D at a rate that's not labeled for the Centipede but is labeled for Bermuda, because in that situation often if you leave it alone, the Centipede will end up winning out over the Bermuda, and that little patch of Centipede is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So you might could pound it with products like Revolver, even Solitaire, which I believe is labeled for Centipede, but it can burn it pretty good in the summertime. So you may use a rate that the Bermuda will tolerate, but it will do more damage to the Centipede. Another option is just killing off that patch if it's not too big with a weed killer, and then taking something like a Pro Plugger or even sod. You can either plug the sod in there with the Pro Plugger tool that you can get on Amazon for 40 bucks, which is really cool, or you can just buy some sod and replace it, but make sure you kill it off so that you don't have the grass coming back up that you thought was dead and now it's coming back up in your Bermuda again, or whatever grass type you're trying to replace it with. You know, I mentioned Tribute Total. That's another one. It's labeled for Bermuda and Zoysia lawns, but not labeled for Centipede and St. Augustine. So it's probably going to beat those kind of grasses up pretty good, and you can spray it and try to hopefully knock those grasses back, and as you do, the Bermuda would start filling in the bare spots. Now, if you've got Bermuda in your Zoysia or Zoysia in your Bermuda, I don't personally have any suggestions. If you have a comment that would, you know how to get rid of one of those out of the other, I would love to hear it myself, because I've seen where a little bit of Bermuda creeps into Zoysia, and it doesn't look terrible, but you can tell it's really messed up a near perfect lawn, and somebody's unhappy about it, and I don't have anything to tell them from a chemical standpoint of how to get rid of that. But I think you can get rid of Centipede or St. Augustine out of a Bermuda or Zoysia lawn. Now, I don't know about the other way around. If you've got a Centipede lawn or a St. Augustine lawn, you're trying to get rid of Bermuda or Zoysia out of those lawns, like I said, oftentimes what I've seen is the Centipede will win the day against Bermuda if side by side. If you got two houses and one neighbor has got Centipede, the other neighbor's got Bermuda, usually the Centipede is going to creep over into the Bermuda instead of the Bermuda creeping over into the Centipede. So maybe the Centipede just wins out, or again, you spray it with weed killer, try to kill it, take some plugs from the Centipede and plug it in the area where the Bermuda grass was, and let it fill back in. Again, please leave a comment if you know how to get one grass out of another. Getting rid of bahiagrass, that's no big deal. I think also getting rid of Centipede, St. Augustine out of Bermuda, Zoysia is doable. Getting rid of Bermuda, Zoysia out of Centipede to St. Augustine is going to be more challenging, and getting Zoysia out of Bermuda or Bermuda out of Zoysia, I don't have any help for you on that one. I'm sorry. There are some links in the description if you want to know some of the products that I mentioned. And I have some other videos popping up for you now if you want to watch more videos. Also, if you're thinking about getting into weed control and fertilization business, or the mowing business, or mosquito spraying business, you can go to lawncarelife.com. I have resources available for you there. Also, if you're thinking about going to the GIE Plus Expo, which is no longer called the GIE Plus Expo, it's now the Equip Expo. I'm hoping to be there in October. There will be a link in the description to give you half off your tickets, affiliate link that they give me. And so if you want to get half off and use my affiliate link, you can do so in the description below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.